Shalom, and welcome to another installment of Apostles of GMS, giving all praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Today's topic is going to be entitled Prophecies of Israel's Current Condition. And the reason why I entitled it that is because of the situation with the Black Consciousness Movement. The fact that according to their facts, what they call facts, that we as a people, so-called black people in this country, we all go back to Egypt. So they challenge us to debates and back and forth, led by Sarnetta and Shaka Amos and Polite in them about this whole Egyptian thing. And I challenged them and before a couple of times to bring out prophecies concerning the Egyptians, going back so many, 4,000 years ago, are the blacks in America. There should be, with all the writings, the pyramid text, the coffin text, the Book of the Dead, the Meter, Netter, all these other books and spells and writings, there should be some form of prophecy, pinpointing that we were going to go into slavery under the so-called white man. You have to tell me who the white man was back then. You have to go into the prophecies of America, the things that we would go through. So that's why we're doing this particular show on that subject. You got anything? Go ahead.
The book of Hosea chapter 4 verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. So basically the scripture is saying that my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Now who's that talking about? Who's the Most High's people? Israelites. Now how are they destroyed for lack of knowledge? Because they have no idea, no clue of who they are. Therefore they're not built up the way that the ancient Israelites were built up. That's why a lot of you are homeless. That's why a lot of you are on drugs. Some of you sell drugs. Some of you are in a bugged out condition. You're all messed up, below poverty, unemployment. So all these conditions are things that are written in the Bible that proves beyond the shadow of a doubt who the Israelites are. And they make up the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians in this country and around the world today. Now, the next scripture I had was Isaiah chapter 5, verse 13. It says, Isaiah 5 and 13, it says, therefore, my people are gone into captivity because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. And that's talking about, actually being physically in slavery, and it's also talking about mentally in slavery. And the so-called leaders out there, like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and Farrakhan, and the such, even among the so-called black conscious community, they're all famished because they have no knowledge. The knowledge that they have is the knowledge of the so-called the so-called Hamites, the Hamitic people, so-called Islam, the Ishmaelites, and different other information like that. That really is not knowledge, because all that stuff is fairy tales made up for certain different religions of different people, not for you. You so-called Negroes and Latinos and Native American Indians in this country here, America, belong to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, the Most High. But you don't know that. Why? Because you're destroyed for lack of knowledge. That's why you went into captivity. That's why you went into slavery, and that's why you're in the condition you're in today.
Yeah, it says here in 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, the 9th verse, it said, for I think that the Most High have sent forth us the apostles last, as it was appointed to death. For we are made a spectacle unto the world. That's why these guys from the black consciousness community, they run to us. When I say us, I'm talking about the Israelites. You got different Israelite groups. They're running to us because, I believe in the back of their warped brains, they know that they're Israelites, but they're in denial. All right? It says, a spectacle unto the world and to angels and to men. 10th verse, I'm sorry. It said, we are fools for the Messiah's sake, but ye are wise in the Messiah. We are weak, but you are strong, or ye are strong. Ye are honorable, but we are despised. Now the ones of us that are despised and looked down upon are the ones of us on the front line bringing out this truth. So when they come up against anybody, they come up against us. They don't come up against you people that are learning, that are in the background, because you have people in the background that just want to learn, but you got guys that are in the forefront. So we are the ones that are looked down upon and made it a spectacle unto the world. And the world, I believe that word there, if you look it up, the word should be cosmos. And that's referring to the Israelites, whether they are awoke or lost, in a lost state of mind, which those dudes in the black consciousness community, which I call the black unconsciousness community, is because if they were woken up, they would say that they were Israelites. Now, if you say that you're an Israelite, but you only deal with the Old Testament, the Lord is not dealing with you either. You're just as lost as a guy that claims his line goes back to Egypt.
That's right. This is Ezekiel 33 and 30. Also, thou son of man, the children of thy people still are talking against thee by the walls and in the doors of the houses. And that's you people out there that talk about us. Because here it is, the Lord set us up as watchmen, to watch and to warn you of things that are coming and to return you, back to your power. But you don't want that. Instead you make mockery of us. You talk shit about us. You make videos against us, trying to overthrow, the things that we're teaching. But you can't. The scriptures say, if this work be of men, it shall come to naught. It says, and speak one to another, every one to his brother, saying, come, I pray you, and hear what is the word that cometh from forth from the Lord. And they come unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will not do them. That's why they come down, like you had Salnetta come down, Shaka Amos, Polite, Sankuku, the other brother that came down, that was kind of cool. I forgot his name. Then the other Royale with cheese, and a few other nuts that came down. And you came down there because you are Israelites. You came down there as a people of the Lord, but then you went your way and you didn't do what the Lord said to do. You continued on that madness.
Yeah, we're not going to accept that bullshit. I don't give a damn how you package it. Okay, it's all bullshit. It's laughable. It's a joke to us. All right.
That's right.
There's nothing that you can do to make us see that crap. That goes for the Moors too. All right. That goes for them. That goes for all you clowns in the black unconscious community, man. It's a real damn joke, man. Yeah. But I'll say this: you brothers do have some information. You can get. Hey! I was watching this video with the red pill and the blue pill, man. They're brothers, right? And them brothers were getting down, man. The last video they did, they were getting down, man. They were going into the Ebola thing. That's what we call it now, the Ebola thing. y'all do have information, but if you don't call yourself an Israelite, man, then you're lost with little tidbits of information. That's it, man. We're Israelite, get it through your goddamn skulls, all right? get it through your heathenistic skulls, which is inside of your skull is a brain, where you have a mind enfolding spiritually out of that brain, that gray matter, working through your let me hope I say this right. Your pineal, I said pineal, your pineal gland, all right? And get this truth, man. If you're one of the elect, you're gonna get it. If you're not gonna get it. You're just gonna die when the time comes. Because this devil, he's about ready to do his thing. He's about ready to get down. He's about ready to come to the fulfillment of his agenda, his new world order agenda. And we're gonna get right his enterprise, right? I know it co-opters, our enterprise have been crowned with success. All right? So he's doing his thing. And the curtain is coming down, man. The final curtain call. That's what Michael Jackson said before he dropped dead. You know? He said, this is it. This is the final curtain call. If you don't get your act together, the Most High is going to stomp you out.
It says, for with their mouth they show much love, but their heart goeth after their covetousness. And that's mainly you, Sarnetta. You know, because you, man, with that money, man, you like a rat in a cheese factory, man, with that money. That's why you got a lot of problems with these guys that you come up with. You know, you all down with them, you know, you know, y'all buddies, but then when that money comes in, boy.
A big black rat.
Yeah, when that money comes in, boy, you just don't know how to act.
Well, he's like a so-called Jew.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, hey man, you might be a so-called Jew, man, a black Jew, man.
Yeah.
You're you know, you just a cheesy nigga, man.
Yeah.
ain't nobody take you guys seriously, man. Come on. Ain't nobody take Shaka most serious, man. Right. I see this guy on the video wearing a damn poom poom shirt, man. He got his belly button showing and shit. That's what kind of shit is this? That's some old faggot shit, man.
Yeah.
Hey, anybody that's in that Egyptian shit, you into that faggot shit, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the Egyptians, the real Egyptians, they were homosexuals, man. They were faggots.
You should open up a club and call it Geb's Cave.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what, man? We're laughing and joking, but that's what we do, man. We laugh and joke at that bullshit. Okay?
Yeah, I got a reference to there was a song that came out back in 1969 called The Israelites or Israelites.
It's Desmond Decker.
Yeah, Desmond Decker was
and he just made the song and that was it.
Yeah.
Just made a song called The Israelites and that was 1969. If I'm not mistaken.
As a matter of fact, according to Wikipedia reference I got in front of me, the song reached number 9 in the top.
Nine spiritually supposed to mean foundation.
It reached the top 10 in the United States, which at that time, for a song written in full Jamaican patois, that was unheard of. Because by 1969, you had a Jamaican community up here, but not as thick as it is now. So for the song to reach number 9 in Jamaican patois says something. All right, the song. I have the lyrics here of the song. The song is written in Jamaican patois. Okay, and basically, when you read the lyrics of the song, he's catching hell, just like an Israelite would in captivity here in America. Remember, we were brought to America to serve punishment, to serve slavery. This is our place of slavery. So when you read the lyrics of the song, like let me give you an example. It says, "Get up in the morning, slaving for bread, sir, so that every mouth slaving for bread, sir, so that every mouth can be fed. Pour me the Israelite." All right, he ain't singing about Egypt here. Now Desmond Decker, he was a so-called West Indian, a so-called Jamaican, which the so-called Jamaicans come out of the tribe of what? The tribe of Benjamin. Now the prophecy says Benjamin would raven as a wolf. That's why Benjamin is known for singing a lot of songs about Babylon is going to be destroyed and the destruction of Babylon, Israelites, but they mix the Ethiopian thing in there too, which shows they haven't got the full truth, but at least they're on that Israelite path. And here's an example of it right here with Desmond Decker. Now, that's the point. The point is the song reaches number 9 in 1969, meaning making it a top 10 in the United States and number 1 in the United Kingdom, in England. And the song is all about Israelites catching hell. Hey, let me give you another example. Okay, he says me wife, but over here it says my wife and my kids, they pack up and leave me. Darling, she said, I was yours to receive, poor me the Israelite. Catching hell, his wife, his children, leaves him. Now what does the scripture say about the Israelites? They, in the latter days, they would be what? They would be catching hell. And that Yahushua would be sent back to what? Deliver them. So this is more proof. I know it's a song, but this is more proof that shows that we're the Israelites, man. Here's another line from the song. Shirt them a tear up, trousers are gone. I don't want to end up like Bonnie and Clyde, poor me the Israelite.
Oh, that sounds like he's in a bum condition now.
Yeah,
huh?
Sounds like a bumite. Sounds like a bumite. Let me read it again. Shirt them a tear up, trousers are gone. I don't want to end up like Bonnie and Clyde, poor me the Israelite. After a storm, there must be a calm. It says you, but they have it here. They catch me in the farm. You sound the alarm. Poor me the Israelite. Why is he in the farm? He's trying to get some food, right? So that's the point, man. As an Israelite, you're gonna catch hell, man. That's our condition. Our condition would be we would be in a low state, and that's pursuant to Deuteronomy, because the name of the lesson that Apostle Elder Tar is putting together is the prophecies of the Israelites in their condition, right? Roughly paraphrasing. Our condition is that we would be brought low, pursuant to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. It says, these curses shall pursue thee and overtake thee. Now that song exemplifies that. The curses. Poor me, Israelite. Poor me, the Israelite. All right, so that's the point.
This is Amos 7 and 17. It says, therefore thus saith the Lord, thy wife shall be an harlot in the street in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou shalt die in a polluted land, and Israel shall surely go into captivity forth of his land.
I just wanted to make one more point. Now, in Wikipedia it says it was one of the first ska songs to become an international hit. I wonder why. All right? Despite Decca's strong Jamaican accent, which made his lyrics difficult to understand for audiences outside of Jamaica. But yet the song went to number 9, the top 10 in the United States. Why is that? That's spiritual, And obviously the song resonated with a lot of so-called black Americans here when the song came out, because that's why the song went to number 9, man. The opening line, get up in the morning, slaving for bread, sir, was often misheard. One example being, wake up in the morning, bake beans for breakfast. But that's the point, That's the point.
Yeah, and like the scripture I read here, it says this is like a low condition scripture too. It says, Amos 7 and 17. Therefore, if the Lord, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city, and you see that. You see the black women, Latino women, and the rest of them other women of the tribes, especially the black women. They're nothing but a bunch of sluts and a bunch of harlots. You would see that. The way they dress, the things that they do, they lay down with any man they want to. There's no hedge there, the mother and the father not together, which is basically all, set up to destroy the family. That's why you have men and women that are not together anymore, because that's one of the things that they set up under the Communist Manifesto, So therefore, there's no structure in the house. So the daughter becomes a lesbian or a whore. The son becomes a faggot, or effeminate, So there's no structure there. It says, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and you see that happening. It's mainly the so-called a lot of the so-called black men in this country, which are from the tribe of Judah. They're getting shot down in the streets, and they've been getting shot down in the streets. Harassed by police, shot down in the streets. Latinos too. Because that's part of the conditions, and these are things that are written in the scriptures pertaining to the condition or the current condition that you're in today. You're not going to find that in the Egyptian Book of the Dead or any of those other Egyptian fairy tale books. You have something else, Elder Gabor?
No, like you said, I was just looking over the lyrics. Basically, man, like I said, it's all about catching hell, man. It all goes back to the curses that the Most High put on us as a nation, the nation of Israel. And that's what this guy was singing about. And this is way back in 1969, back in 1969, which according to the prophecy, it says that when America start to go down, roughly paraphrasing, when America starts going down, that's when the word is going to be really pushed hard, roughly paraphrasing. And that's just another sign, man,
Yeah, then it says, and as you read on down, it says, and thou shalt die in a polluted land. And you see that. This land is polluted. And it's not just talking about just physical pollution of trash in the streets and the air being polluted and the water being polluted. It's talking about the pollution of idols, because you worshiping idols. You are so-called Negroes and you rest of you tribes in the churches. You worshiping idols and don't even realize you worshiping idols, because those churches you go to, that whole doctrine of Christianity and Catholicism, that's all basically idol worship. And you just don't have no clue of it. You have something?
Yeah. This is what I was speaking of. This is the book of Obadiah, the first chapter, the 4th verse. I'll go right to the point. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set, that's talking about the so-called white man, whose symbol is the eagle, and he exalteth himself as the eagle, because the eagle is a proud bird. It's known for flying at great heights among all the other birds that the Most High created. Reading on, it says, and though thou set thy nest among the stars. Now, his nest is talking about the space shuttles, the spaceships out there, his space program. He has a program called the Star Wars program. You can Google that. And who set that out there in the stars? The so-called white man. Now, it was 1969 when he sent up his so-called Apollo, when the Apollo mission started, 1969. And that was the same year that song came out. So 1969 was a pivotal year for Esau going down, because according to the prophecy, Obadiah 1 and 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, though thou set thy nest among the stars. A good example is the Apollo space program, which I believe started in 1969. Thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. So they've been coming down ever since. And it's no coincidence that was the same year that song came out, and the song is all about what? Is a so-called black man, Desmond Decker, calling himself an Israelite. And saying,
that was spiritual.
That was spiritual.
And that's when the so-called Esau's world changed, because that was during the midst of the Vietnam conflict. Now, prior to the Vietnam conflict, it was unheard of, people being strung out on drugs like they are now. But that started right after the Vietnam conflict was getting hot. And they show you in different documentaries and movies how they took the dead bodies of the GIs and the body bags, and they would, put drugs up in there, man. And through the mob and corrupt police and all that, that's how people got turned out on drugs. That whole hippie movement came about. Flower Child movement, hippie movement, beatniks and all that. They came about in the mid 60s, 65. That's when a change started to take place.
Right.
And it really took place 69, 70. Now it says here in the scripture, it says in Isaiah 22 and 18, it said, he will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country, that he is the Most High. There shalt thou die, and there the chariots of thy glory shall be the shame of thy Lord's house. All right? Read that again. It said, he, the Most High, will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball. Now, what should come to mind? A ship in rough waters. You were in that cargo slave ship in rough waters. It said you're going to be turned and tossed like a ball into a large country. The Americas. Starting with the so-called USA, North America, Canada. Because you went, up into the north. Then you went down into the South America. The different islands. But the key place was America itself. Because when Cristobal Colon came over here, he didn't land on the shores of America. He landed on the shores of the Americas. Because where did he land? I think it was the Dominican Republic. If it was it? Yeah, it was like Haiti. Dominican Republic and Haiti is the same. It's the same island, split in half. You got the so-called Dominicans on one side. You got the Haitians on the other. And those surrounding islands, and that's where he actually landed in South America.
I believe if I'm not mistaken, Central El Salvador.
El Salvador, yep, that was another key place. And what they did was, it was the Spaniards, the conquistadors. That's why the Central and South America, the predominant language is Spanish, because the conquerors spoke Spanish. Now, when you come up to the U.S., so-called U.S., they spoke English, because that goes back to the British, the Dutch. The British spoke English, and then you had in Central America, which that was controlled by the Spaniards, and you had the middle part of America was controlled by the West, and there were wars that took place. You had the French-American War, the Spanish-American War. You had the the War for Independence, and so forth. So you had a number of war, and then you had purchases. You had a famous purchase called the Louisiana Purchase, where the U.S. government had purchased that plot of land from the French, because Louisiana is a French word. All right. So I mean, when America was being built up, when Cristobal Colon came over here, it was all part of the prophecy. That's why I read that scripture in Isaiah 22 and 18. He will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country. There shalt thou die, and there the chariots of thy glory shall be the shame of thy Lord's house. Because you're in a shameful condition right now.
That's right. This is the book of Joel chapter 3 verse 1. It says, for behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. In other words, this is going to be the time when the Lord is going to deliver the nation of Israel out of their condition. It says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. And that's why you have those armies over there in the Middle East fighting today, because the Lord is gathering them over there to bring judgment upon them for a particular reason. And will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel. And the reason why that particular war is going on over there is to fulfill prophecy and for the Lord to get vengeance back upon those nations for what they did to us. And it says, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. So basically they took little Jake boys and sold them basically to be faggots, you know, and they took the little girls and basically made them whores for wine that they may drink. You had something?
Yeah, it's a slight off topic, but the Apollo mission that I spoke about earlier, it actually started in 63. And it ran from 63 to 1972. But what's interesting...
69 was a manned space shack. The Eagle had landed and all that.
Yeah, that's what's interesting, because there was six missions. Now the first one was in December of 1968, and they say, hey, it was a lunar orbit. They didn't get to the moon, which they never got to the moon. The first two was lunar orbits, but that was Apollo 8 and Apollo 10. But Apollo 11, that's the most famous one. That's the one where he made the statement, one of the astronauts made the statement, that's one step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And it was in 1969, all right, which goes back to the prophecy in the book of Obadiah, the first chapter. It says, when you set your nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down. So it's no coincidence that the most famous Apollo mission was made in 1969. That's the Apollo 11. And the word Apollo, by the way, means destruction. You know, it means destruction. So since then, America has been going down. Since 1969, America has been going down, man. You know, that's what I want to make, the point I want to make.
It says, yea, this is Joel 3 and 4. Yea, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine, you know, which used to be run by Hamites, but now it's the so-called Arabs, them Ishmaelites that are running those areas now. Now in Palestine, you have them so-called Jews that are kicking those Palestinians out of there, you know, so them so-called Jews are taking over that land now. It says, will you render me a recompense? In other words, the Lord saying, for what you did to us, the nation of Israel, will you be able to give the Most High a recompense, you know, a reward for what you did? It says, and if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. Why? Because what you did to the nation of Israel was wicked, you know? It says, because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried away, and have carried them, Salake, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians. Now, where in the history of the so-called Medinetta and all that other crap did they show that the Israelites or a people being sold into slavery to the so-called white men? It says you have sold the children of Judah and Jerusalem unto the Grecians, which is the so-called white men, the Greeks, you know, which really those are Edomites that took over that land and took over the names of that land. That's why they're called Grecians today, or Greeks. It says that you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither you have sold them. And the place whither you have sold them was where? America, because when you go back into the history, you had the Arabs and the so-called Africans, the real Africans, the Hamites, that took the nation, the children of Israel, from the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, sold them to the so-called white man, who put them on those cargo slave ships, and they brought them over here to the so-called Americas. And this is the place that was prepared for them. What does the Lord mean, a place prepared for them? Meaning this is where they were going to serve out their sentence, or what the Lord spoke of in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28 chapters and other chapters. Then it says, matter of fact, before I read on there, I just got one more. This is in the book of Daniel, the 9th chapter, and I'll start at the 11. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured out upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of the Most High, because we have sinned against him. And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judge us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem. As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil is come upon us, yet made we not our prayer before the Lord our power, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand thy truth. And that's why a lot of you guys in the black unconscious community, you have yet to come to the understanding of the truth, because you don't take heed to the scriptures, because you think like the white man thinks, that this Bible is a fairy tale, or that it was written by the white man. So you haven't come to the truth, because the Lord has resisted you. So since you didn't come to the truth, that's why you're in the condition that you're in, and you're going to stay in that condition till the Lord comes back and redeems you. Those of you that are part of the elect.
Yeah, I have a scripture here in 2 Kings 17 chapter. The whole chapter is good, but I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit. This is the 2 Kings 17 verse 20. It says, and the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel. Now, when you see the word Israel, it's not talking about Judah, Benjamin, Levi. It's talking about the other tribes, what we call the so-called Latin tribes. Because prior to this, what we're reading right now, when King Hoshea sat on the throne, prior to that, the nation of Israel was broken up into two separate kingdoms. The kingdom of Judah, which consisted of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and then the kingdom of Israel, which consisted of the rest of those tribes. And at that time, Dan was amongst the tribes. All right? Now it says, and the Lord rejected the seed of Israel and afflicted them and delivered them into the hand of the spoilers. Now you got these Nawapians, you got the foremost speaker, Polite. He'll use that because he learned it from his child molesting master teacher, which he's locked up right now for child molestation. He taught him this, and he pushes it, and even brought this scripture out on it. And I told him, you don't even understand the scriptures, man. Because what they used, the way they taught it was, they said the spoilers meant that they were the nation of Israel was destroyed, but then they said the whole nation of Israel was destroyed. If they knew the history, they would know that Judah, Benjamin, and Levi was still in the land. Now the spoilers are referring to the Assyrians. If these dumb jackasses would continue to read, they would get the answer. All right, that's why we don't take you guys seriously, man. All right, you're just lost in this madness of this pseudo information. It says, this delivered them into the land of the spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight. Cast him out of his sight, meaning he had cast him out of the homeland of the Israelites. And there's a scripture on that, but I'm not even going to bring it out right now. You're just going to have to wait. 21, it said, for he rent Israel from the house of David. Remember, Israel is talking about the other tribes outside of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. The house of David was of the tribe of Judah. Okay? And they made Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, king. He was an Ephraimite who the prophet Ahijah had took his garment off and ripped it up into 12 pieces and gave him 10 and said, you're going to take 10 parts. All right? Which meant that the prophet had prophesied that he's going to be the guy that's going to he's going to lead these other tribes, the so-called Latin tribes, for lack of a better word, or the Indian tribes, to follow him. And he did it. If you jump up a couple of verses, it said that he made, when you read the history, it said that he made 2 golden calves from Egypt. Because something about that connection with Egypt, man. That's why you still got Negroes running around pushing that Egypt bullshit, man. And all these clowns that are pushing that Egypt bullshit or that Nuwabic bullshit or that planet risk bullshit or any philosophy that they're teaching, Moors, name some others. Yeah, Islam. All of you guys that claim to be teachers of those different false philosophies, the Most High is going to destroy you, man. He's going to destroy you. Most High is jealous of power. All right? It says, read again. For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king, and Jeroboam drave Israel from following Yahweh and made them sin a great sin. And go down to the 22nd verse. It says, for the children of Israel, I have to say it again before somebody gets stupid and simple, it's not talking about Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Even though you had Levi mingled among the Israelites, do you know Jeroboam, and it's in the scriptures, Jeroboam, if you want to get that, you can get it. If not, I got it marked down. Jeroboam had pushed all the Levites from among Israel. Now, why was the tribe of Levi mingled among all of Israel? Because they were the priests, Levitical priests. And they lived in the suburbs, and they were the judges, priests and judges of the different tribes. So what happened was he had pushed him. You know what it is? Okay, I got it in here. If you can find it, it's marked down. If not, I'll come and I'll get it because I marked it down. It says, I'm going to read 22 again. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. There should be 2 scriptures on that. I think I put down both scriptures. All right, so go to both of them, bring them to me in order. Which he did. They departed not from them. All right, 23. Until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight. Out of his sight is the land, as he had said by all his servants the prophets. So was Israel carried away out of their own land. That's the answer. You know, it didn't mean he destroyed them. He sent them the spoilers and they destroyed them. That means Israel is done away with. There's no such thing as Israel. That's a Negro that doesn't get deep and read. It said, so was Israel carried away, not Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. I got to say it again because Jake gets stupid. So was Israel carried away out of their own land. Where's their land? What they call today Palestine. That's why when you go to ancient biblical maps dealing with Israel, they even show you on the maps. Say something. I'm gonna bring out a map.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, you know, see, because you have to get into the history, you got to get into these maps, so you can have a better understanding of when you read a scripture of a particular place where the prophets were or Israel was. You have a visual, somewhat of a visual on the map where it was speaking about.
I'm gonna show you on this map. Give me the mic. I got it. I can multitask, brother. Yeah, but the water, you know, for the help. See if I can get it right here. Because that's how you got to teach, Jake. You got to teach him romper room style. You know?
That's what you have to
That's why we got the signs out there.
In your face.
But anyway, okay, you got the Great Sea. You got the, yeah. All right, yeah, you got Manasseh. You got Ephraim. You got Gad. You got Gilead.
Reuben.
You see Reuben there?
Yeah,
Oh,
Reuben.
you see Dan. So all these Reuben, you see Reuben?
Naphtali, right there towards the
Right, you see Naphtali, you see Asher,
Manasseh.
Manasseh, Simeon. Right, you see Judah, you see Simeon. Then you see Moab, the Moabites. Then you see Edom. That's where the Edomites, the so-called white man, dwelt at.
Yeah.
Okay? Y'all got it? See, we got to start teaching like this, man.
Yeah, con.
Because a lot of you jakes out there are boneheads, man. All right, it says, until the Lord remove Israel out of his sight. That means he destroyed them. Because the Most High had his eyes all over the planet Earth and the heavens and the stars. That means they were destroyed. Now, this guy, it was heard that Sarnetta no longer deals with Shaka, and that always happens. That always happens. So now he's going to get Polite, and Polite is a lightweight, man. Polite is a kid, okay? He a kid. He's just somebody's son, all right? So you can't play that mumbo jumbo on us, all right? Now the GOCC, representative from the GOCC, they cut the hell out of Shaka's bullshit, man. And they ain't nobody. Okay, they're lightweights. All into them books. The book of, what was the book the guy was reading out of? He reading out of the book of Enoch. Ain't no book of Enoch, man. The book of Yasha. Now, the book of Yasha is mentioned in the Chronicles, all right? But the current book of Yasha is not that book. We don't have possession of that book. You read that book will give you a headache, man. And they don't even know the main book. They can't even get that. Can't even get the name. All right? It says, until the Lord removed Israel, not Judah, Benjamin, Levi. I got to say it again. Matter of fact, hold it. Go to them scriptures. Do you got it? You got them? Okay, go ahead. This is the further proof in the scriptures that Levi, because the prophet Ahijah gave, he cut the garment up or rent the garment up into 12 pieces and gave Jeroboam 10 of them pieces, if I'm not mistaken. And there were 2 left, which was Judah and Benjamin. What happened to Levi? Isn't there supposed to be a 13th tribe? Well, Levi was mingled among the other tribes. They were the priests. So at the end of that whole ordeal, there were 3 tribes. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Because Levi didn't get together with the other 10 tribes. And it wasn't that half of Levi, 9.5 tribes. No, that's that. If you know the scriptures, you would know better.
This is the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 11, verse 13. It says, and the priests and the Levites that were in all Israel resorted to him out of all their coasts. For the Levites left their suburbs and their possession and came to Judah and Jerusalem, for Jeroboam and his sons had cast them off from executing the priest's office unto the Lord. And he ordained him priests for the high places and for the devils and for the calves. Now this is 2 Chronicles 13:1. And in the 18th year of King Jeroboam began Abijah to reign over Judah. Verse 8. And now ye think to withstand the kingdom of the Lord in the hand of the sons of David. And you be a great multitude, and there are with you golden calves which Jeroboam made you for gods. Have you not cast out the priests of the Lord, the sons of Aaron, and the Levites, and have made you priests after the manner of the nations of other lands, so that whosoever cometh to consecrate himself with a young bullock and serve rams and 7 rams, the same may be a priest of them that are no gods. So basically, he cast out the Levites from doing a service among the other tribes, beginning with Ephraim, Manasseh, Reuben, Gad, all the way down to Issachar. So all the Levites that were among them that had their substance with them and lived in their suburbs, they got kicked out and sent down to Judah and Benjamin.
That's why you got to read, man. You know.
I got a precept for you. This is the book of 1 Kings, the 11th chapter, beginning at the 34th verse. Howbeit, I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life for David my servant's sake. And he's talking about Solomon, whom I chose, because he kept my commandments and my statutes. But I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand, and will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes.
That's Rehoboam.
That's right. And unto his son will I give 1 tribe, that David my servant may be a light alway before me in Jerusalem. And that word, that's the key word there, alway. All right, so the Lord didn't do away with the nation of Israel. The city which I have chosen me to put my name there. Let's see. Now, I have another precept which proves that the children of Israel is not done away with, that we're still here, and we're going to be raised in the latter days. This is Hosea, the 3rd chapter, the 4th verse. For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, and without an image, and without an ephod, and without a teraphim. Afterward shall the children of Israel return. So if they're done away with, according to you, nut jobs, how are they going to return? It says, afterward shall the children of Israel, and the word there in the Hebrew is sons. All right?
Hey, but you know what's so nutty about them guys? They're Israelites.
Yeah, they don't.
They're saying the Israelites are done away with, and the
they're
Israelites
Israelites.
are Israelites.
They're saying
That's why we don't take you guys seriously, man.
Yeah. They're saying
Like Sarnetta, if you ever come down there, man, we might shun you. We might allow you in there. But I know one thing we're going to be laughing behind. We're going to be snickering and laughing and shit.
Well, he might be a so-called Jew anyway.
Yeah, he might be a so-called Jew. He might not even be one of our
there.
people, man. For him to jump to be an Israelite 1 week, he's an Egyptian.
Yeah,
You were one of the most confused cats I ever met in my entire life, man.
God.
I mean, that's complete madness, man.
God.
But you got those lost souls, man. Them lost souls, they love that shit, man, because they don't know what's going on. They don't know. They don't know what's happening. You know.
Yep. The 5th verse. Now listen good. You
And
people
we can't
out
help
there.
those lost souls. That's why we get away from you clowns, man.
That's right. Listen good, you people out there. It says, you you boneheads out there. Hosea 3:5. Afterward shall the children of Israel return and seek the Lord their power, and David their king.
Wait a minute, I thought David was long dead.
Yeah.
How's David going to come back?
How's he going to come back?
If he died
Yeah. Hey, well,
thousands of years ago, how you going to come back, brother? I'm asking y'all. How's he coming back?
through reincarnation.
Hold up now. Well, wait a minute. The GOCC, they say that there's no such thing as reincarnation in the scriptures.
So how is David coming back?
So how's David coming back? Huh? Are y'all listening, GOCC?
And for you to say reincarnation don't exist, then you're saying that when the spirit, first of all, you're saying the spirit dies, which is impossible, and you're saying that the spirit can never come
David
back.
Clown should put all them damn books down and get right back into the book and start watching GMS videos so you can learn the truth, all right? So you can get it the right way.
That's right. Anyway, the 5th verse says, afterward shall the children of Israel return, which this prophecy is happening even as we speak. It's happening right now. Afterward shall the children of Israel, the sons of Israel, that's what it says in the Hebrew, return and seek the Lord their power and David their king, and shall fear the Lord and his goodness in the latter days.
Ooh.
That's the key. You can't get around that. Like Michael Jackson said, it's too high to get over. It's too low to get under. You're stuck in the middle and the pain is tingle.
Yep.
All right? In the latter days, man. We're in the latter days now. We're in the last days of the so-called white man's kingdom. It says that the Israelites will return and seek the Lord. And that don't fit the so-called Jew. They ain't seeking for the Lord their power and David their king. All right?
They're looking to get money like Saul Nigga.
Like Saul Nigga.
The black
Saul
Jew,
Nigga.
the black so-called Jew.
Yeah.
That's the black Amalekite.
Yeah. It fits us, man. We're the ones that constantly talk about David. King David. We constantly talk about the Lord. Hell, the so-called Jews can't even say the name of the Lord, nor his son. They say Hashem, which means the name.
There's another guy that can't say the name of the Lord. Seem to can't say the name of the Lord either.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name no names.
Yeah. Yeah, but he has...
I'll tell you one thing. He's a tall, black fella
lanky.
that worked for the NYPD.
Yeah, with
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, with the smile of a picket fence.
Yeah, with a with a Cheshire cat smile.
Yeah. But that you can't get around that prophecy, man. It said, let me read it again. Hosea 3 and 5. Afterward shall the sons of Israel return and seek the Lord their power and David their king, and shall fear the Lord and his goodness in the latter days. An example of his goodness is giving us back our identity, giving us back our laws,
his
our
name,
customs, his name, which is the most important thing.
Again, his name.
That's right, brother. Thank you. Which is the most important thing. His name, his son's name. All right, and soon he's going to give us that power. He said in Psalm,
and he's going to give us some other nations. Oh, another thing
right.
GOCC teaches is we ain't supposed to hate the nation. Well, how the hell you going to beat the shit out of them in the kingdom if you're going to love them?
How you going to put him in
how you going to put them in slavery? Work them out there in the field.
Yeah.
If you don't hate them.
Yeah.
How you going to put them in a big pit and burn them at the end of the whole ordeal and set fire on their ass? But you love them. You gonna do that in the name of love?
They don't understand balance. You can't love if you don't hate.
Niggas don't understand nothing, man.
For you to love, you gotta hate, man. The two complement each other. The Lord said a false balance is an abomination unto him. The Lord, yeah, he loves, but he also hates. You can't love if you don't hate. You can't hate if you don't love.
Madness, man.
Oh,
hey, that's why GMS is still numero uno.
Numero
now I'm
uno.
gonna read this here. I don't know. You still got more?
That's it.
All right. Now Hosea 1 and 9. Right. It said, "Then said the Most High, call his name Lo Amai." Now, when you go into the Hebrew, the word is La'aim. Let me check that. Let me check that. I know I'm right, but I want to check it. Yeah, it says that. Okay, I'm sorry. It says La'aimya. Okay? That means not, let me click on it. It means not my people. But let me see what these people say. Okay, it's broken down into two root words in the Hebrew, H3808 and H5971. H3808 is la'ah, which means no or not. H5971 is I'm, which means people. And then it says, the translation is not my people, which they're right. So the word in the Hebrew would be la'ah, not or no. I'm is people, and the yah is at the suffix. The suffix is yah for my. Like if I say this is my house, I would say bayath. If I say house. If I say the house or a house, I would say ha bayath, right? If I said my house, I would say bayath yah. The yah makes it my house, you know? If it's his house, I would say bayath wa. the suffix at the end is a wa. If I said it's her house, it would be bayath ha, which makes it possessive, feminine possessive. So that's what it means. See? And we don't just make this up, man. We do the research. We know it anyway. We knew it before the blue letter. Oh, and everybody's getting into the blue letter now. Yeah, everybody using the blue letter. You know? Everybody getting the blue letter now. Like they don't show that they don't show the blue letter all the time, but they in the blue letter. So yeah, I gotta for all these GMS cats. Okay, let me bring it back again.
Yeah, well, the scriptures say you can't be against the truth, but before the truth.
That's right.
It's all part of the truth.
That's right. Now it says in the 9th verse, Hosea 1:9. Then said the Most High, call his name Lo Amai, which in the Hebrew is La Aimya, not my people. For ye are not my people, and I will not be your power. So there was a time where the Most High turned his back on us. Now check this out. The 10th verse. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which can not be measured nor numbered, and it shall come to pass that in the place, there goes that word place again, America, where it was said, and it's not Rome, because in Rome we call ourselves Israelites. The Roman authorities allowed us to keep the high holy days and call ourselves Judah and Benjamin and so forth. All right? It says that in the place, America, when you go back to Egypt, we were called Israelites. We were calling ourselves the different tribes. During the time of the Babylonian Empire, we were calling ourselves Israelites. When the Assyrians took over the kingdom of Israel, they were calling themselves Israelites. The Assyrians referred to us as Israelites. Any captivity that we were in, all these different nations referred to us as Israelites. This is the only nation that took our nationality from us and took the Bible from us in slavery, because they knew that we were Israelites. They took our source. Our source is that Bible. That's our code book, our constitution, our power source. It says, read again. It says, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, because that's what they're saying. You got these so-called fake Jews saying that they're the Israelites. And if a so-called black man says he's a Jew, if found out he's a Jew or whatever, or if you went on a job interview and you signed the application under nationality and you put down Judah or Israel, because Esau knows about that, this Edomite, this white man, first of all, he's going to laugh. Either he's going to laugh at you like it's a joke, or he's going to say, well, this guy woke up. You think you're going to get that job? No, you ain't going to get that job. It says, it was said unto them, ye are not my people. There, the place, it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living power. Who are the sons of the Most High? The nation of Israel. So this is prophecy coming to pass right before your eyes. It says, 11 verse, then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel. So that shows you that Israel was not done away with. Right. Hosea came after kings. Remember the spoilers that we read about in 2 Kings, the 17th chapter? Right. The children of Israel, I'm going to read again. Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together and appoint themselves, Judah, the kingdom of Judah, Benjamin, Levi, the children of Israel, kingdom of Israel, which consisted of the rest of the tribes, all right, shall come together and appoint themselves one head. Who's the one head? David, King David. The apostle read in the 3rd chapter of the same book, Hosea, the prophet Hosea. And they shall come up out of the land. What land? The land of Israel? No. They're coming up out of that place, America. If you notice, all the tribes going back the last 20, 30, 40 years, all the tribes are in this country right now. You got the Mexicans. There's millions. There's what they estimated of like almost 15 million Mexicans, which is the tribe of Issachar, man. And the Most High is going to wake up 12,000. And then their families and so forth, their households. You got the other tribes from Central America. They're all here. Now, back during the turn of the century, that was unheard of, man. Only thing you had over here in America, back during the turn of the 1800s and 1700s, you had the so-called blacks, which are the so-called Negroes. You had the so-called white man. During the turn of the century, they allowed other so-called Europeans of European descent to come over here, and Elam and which are the East Indians and them other different nations to come over here. That was to build this country up. That was a cheap labor. That's why they brought them over here, where you already had Israel, former slaves, that they could have said, okay, now we're going to give you an opportunity. We're going to show you that Americans love black people. No, you push them to the side and you allow them Europeans to come up. And that's Deuteronomy 20:28. What is it? The individual that's within you shall get above thee very high, and you shall come down very low. Those are those immigrants from other European, the Chinese, the Moabites, the East Indians. You go to a dentist, you're going to most likely encounter an East Indian dentist. A doctor, most likely you're going to encounter an East Indian doctor. They have the higher positions over you. They have the businesses over you. All right? It says, then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land. The land is America, because the other Israelites in Central and South America and in Canada, they're gonna still be there. And we're going to go down and we're going to wake them up after the missiles are dropped on America, because America is going to be totally destroyed. It's going to be wiped off the map. It's going to be pulled out of the frame for real. All right? It says, and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. Jezreel is another name for Israel. The word Jezreel, and I can click on it, the word Jezreel is a Hebrew word, or the Paleo-Hebrew, or the Phoenician tongue, whatever you want to call it, or the Lashon Kodash. Jezreel in the Hebrew is Yazarai Allah. Allah means power, God, or judge. Zerai means seed or seed of. And the Yah means he. So when you put all those three words, that's a compound word. When you put those words together, you got Yah, he, Zerai, seed, Allah, God, power, judge. He is the seed of God. He is the seed of the supreme Yahweh. All right? He is a seed of the Most High, which is another way of saying Israel, a different way of saying Israel. All right?
All right, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 13. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. Now, this is dealing with the Roman Empire, specifically also dealing with Herod, when they persecuted the nation of Israel back then during the time of Yahweh Shai. It says, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle. So then eventually in process of time, when Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian sacked Jerusalem and captured it in 70 A.D. To the woman were given, the woman is Israel, were given 2 wings of a great eagle. What was that? That was a great deliverance, just like we were delivered out of Egypt. It says where she is nourished, that she might fly into the wilderness. And what was the wilderness? The interiors of Africa. That's part of the prophecy that Israel was going to go into the interiors of Africa to flee Roman persecution. But they went to other places, but the main place they went to was down into Africa because they used to flee there all the time because it was nearby. It says,
and they were up in Europe. That's why Paul had his missionary journeys up there in Europe, because you had Israelites all in different parts of Europe, Asia Minor. And that's why this individual by the name of what's his name, Professor Henry Gates, if I'm not mistaken, he's a professor, Lewis Henry Gates. He came out with a series, the first series. I think that was 10 years ago, or close to 10 years ago, around there. Anyway, it was called African American Lives. And he had, celebrities such as Oprah Winfrey, Chris Tucker, who else? He had T.D. Jakes. Who else? Whoopi Goldberg, just to name a few. And basically, I remember Whoopi making a statement that she wanted to be, I think she said Zulu. And my spirit feels like I'm a Zulu. My line got to go back to Zulu, right? Then he went back to her line and he said, well, your line, according to DNA, your line goes back to Europe. And she was like, wait, all my people are dark and all that. The reason why her line went back to Europe and parts of Africa was because you had Israelites that were all up in Europe, man. How do you think the so-called Byzantine Empire, starting with Constantine the Great, how do you think that empire came in the power? Because you had Israelites that were up there, man. How do you think the Moors came into power? Because those were Israelites that embraced the religion of Islam. So when guys say that they're Moors, yes, you are Moors, just like we're Negroes, We're called Negroes today, right? Negroes are black or African Americans. Going back more than 500 years ago, you were labeled yourself as Moors, a Latin word meaning, generic term meaning black. Puerto Ricans will call a black person morena or moreno, which goes back to the word Moor. They were up in Spain, right? What language did they speak in Spain? Spanish, which is a romantic language, meaning the roots go back to Rome, which they call Latin. Spanish come from Latin. The Romans spoke Latin. When you check out a lot of these Greek words and these Latin words, they go back to the same root. So that comes from the Greek as well. All right. So when you go back to that documentary by a doctor or Professor Lewis Henry Gates, most of them went back to Europe, man, and they didn't even understand why. And then he did the DNA on Chris Tucker, and he said his line goes back to Cameroon. Now you have Israelites that live in Cameroon, because the apostle read how we escaped from Roman persecution during the time of Vespasian, Titus, and the mission, and then even during the time of Nero, because it started with Nero when he burnt down Rome and blamed it on the Christians, which are Israelites that followed the Messiah. So you can't get around it, man. Your time is up, Mr. Esau, the Illuminati. Your jig is up, okay? And all that Egyptian bullshit, if you want to go ahead and keep following that crap, You lost souls, be my guest, man. I'm not going to bend over backwards to try to make you get this, man.
That's right. Yeah, I got to.
Go ahead, I'm going to continue to read this. It says, 23rd verse of 2 Kings 17. Until the Lord Yahweh removed Israel out of his sight, and he had said by his servants of prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day, meaning back then. But you still have Israelites that are being called Assyrians. A lot of them were Ephraimites. It says, and the king of Assyria, and I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was Shalmaneser the fifth. Do me a favor, go to Google and put in Shalmaneser the fifth, and let's see what information you come up on that. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cutha and from Ava and from Hamath and from Seraphim and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. That's where you get these so-called Philadelphian Jews today, that the so-called white Jews embrace them and allow them into their land because they know that the real Jews are waking up. So they're trying to upset the prophecies. Oh, you're right, there are black Jews, and they're the Philadelphia. No, those are not the real Jews. Those, for the most part, would be Cushites, what you know today as Ethiopians, all right? 25th verse. It says, and so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not the Lord Yahweh. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them. That's them other nations that lived in our land. It says, wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations which thou hast removed, which was Israel, and placed in the cities of Samaria, know not the manner of the God of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they knew not the manner of the God of the land. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry thither one, another key word, one, not a whole company of priests, one of the priests, Levites, whom ye brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God of the land. The one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came, because there were some of the priests that were mingled among the kingdom of Israel, came and dwelt in Bethel, which means Hebrew, Bayath Allah, the house of the Most High, the house of God, and taught them how they should fear the Lord. That's why you got so-called Ethiopians saying that their line goes back to the Israelites. They're not Israelites. Howbeit every nation made gods of their own and put them in the houses of the high places which the Samaritans had made, every nation in their cities wherein they dwelt. And the men of Babylon made Succoth-Benoth, and the men of Cuth made Nergal, and the men of Hamas made Ashima, and the Hivites made Nibhaz. So all these gods, these pagan gods that they brought in here, right? It says, so I'm going to jump down to 32. So they feared the Lord and made unto themselves the lowest of them priests of the highest of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the house of the high places. They feared the Lord Yahweh and served their own gods after the manner of the nations whom they carried away from thence. In other words, they were following our ways. 34. Unto this day they do after the former manners. They fear not the Lord, neither do they they after their statutes, or after their ordinances, or after the law and commandment which the Lord commanded the children of Jacob, whom he named Israel. It says, with whom the Lord had made a covenant and charged them, Israel, saying, ye shall not fear other gods, nor bow yourself down to them, nor serve them, nor sacrifice unto them. That's why we say these guys in the black unconscious community, they're going to be put to death for pushing that bullshit of serving these other gods. 36, but the Lord who brought you up out of the land of Egypt, talking about Israel, with great power and a stretched out arm, him shall ye fear, and him shall ye worship, and to him shall ye do sacrifice. The Most High gonna get you guys. You guys in that black consciousness bullshit, the Most High gonna get you, man. 37. And the statutes and the ordinances and the law and the commandments which he wrote for you, ye shall observe to do them forevermore, and ye shall not fear other gods. All right? Let me just jump around. Well, anyway, what happened was they were taken captive by the Assyrians, right? And what they did do, I don't know if this is in the same chapter where they said we're going to go to a new world. I know it's in the Apocrypha. So I got to go to the Apocrypha. I say something.
So this is, you're getting the history of what happened to the nation of Israel, because you have to understand, in order for you to understand that scripture in 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, you have to know what was taking place at the time and what occurred and the reason why Israel was cut off from their land and why they went into captivity under the Assyrians, because they were worshiping idols secretly, which went back all the way down to the time of Jeroboam. Because when the kingdom was split after the time of King Solomon with his son Rehoboam holding the southern kingdom, which was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and Jeroboam holding the northern kingdom, which was Ephraim and the rest of the other tribes. All the kings that came out of Israel, beginning with Ephraim, they were all wicked, because the Lord set it up that way because He was ready to cut them off from their land. But then you had among the Judite kings, you had some that were righteous and you had some that were wicked, because there wasn't time for them to fully go down yet. So in process of time, after they worshiped the idols that Jeroboam set up, then the Lord stirred the spirit in these nations to start conquering the known territory. And one of the places they conquered was Samaria, and took the Israelites into captivity.
Yeah, I got some history for you. This is from, I Googled Shalmaneser the Fifth, and this is what I found. It says Shalmaneser the Fifth, 727 to 722 BC, was able to bring Hoshea, the last king of Israel, 732 to 723 BC, under his control. The scriptural reference for that is 2 Kings 17 and 3. Hoshea failed to pay his annual tribute in his 7th year of reign, and was visited by Shalmaneser V, who placed Samaria, the capital of Israel, under siege. The king of Egypt was implicated in this treachery in some way, for he gave encouragement to Hoshea in his rebellious intentions. The siege of Samaria lasted for 3 years, and in Hoshea's 9th year, the city fell. All right. The biblical record seems to attribute the fall of the city to Shalmaneser. Unfortunately, there are no existing records for the reign of Shalmaneser V, and the capture of Samaria was claimed by Shalmaneser's son, Sargon, 721 to 705 BC. So between Shalmaneser and Sargon, two Assyrian kings, the northern kingdom of Israel pretty much fell into Assyrian captivity. And what happened was they were brought over to Assyria, and from Assyria, according to the reference written in the Apocrypha, they left Assyria and went. The journey took them about a year and a half. They went around the Horn of Africa.
Yeah, I got that right now. I'm gonna
Okay.
have you read that. I just
Okay.
got it right here. But this is 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, starting from the 40th verse. So this picks up where we left from 2 Kings 17.
All right, this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes.
Sorry, you got your pocketbook?
Come.
You read out of your pocketbook.
Okay.
Give us a second. Got it?
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, 39. It says, "And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanazar, which is Salmanazar the fifth, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land." Now that other land is talking about Assyria, the first place where they were brought to in captivity. I'm going to continue to read. I just want to read real quick in 2 Kings 17, where... Con. Okay, you got it. Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, it doesn't... It tells you how the king of Salmanazar brought the children of Israel into the land of Assyria.
Yeah, it's right here. I'm going to go right to the point. The 6th verse, 2 Kings 17 and 6. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria. Hosea was not the king of Assyria. It was Shalmaneser. But the king that ruled over Israel at that time was Hoshea, all right? It said, and carried Israel away along with their king, Hoshea, into Assyria and placed them in Hala and in the harbor by the river Gozan and in the city of the Medes. All right?
So now here in the Apocrypha, it takes place, it's going back and revisiting the history. It says, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanazar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land, which is what? Assyria. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. So why did they take this counsel to go to this particular land where never mankind dwelt? Because they already knew of this land. Right. In other words, you had missions of sailors like the Phoenicians, which are Canaanites, that came over here in ships, but they would come over here to get exotic animals, different types of wood, different types of exotic things to bring it back to over to King Solomon.
Yeah, let me say something on the word Phoenician. The word Phoenician they were the Canaanites, not the Phoenician. The word Phoenician, and you can look it up, the word Phoenician is a Greek way of saying Canaan, the Canaanites. All right, so you use that term Phoenician, is really talking about the Canaanites.
And so the place where never mankind dwelt was here in the so-called Americas, which were named that later. But what happened was, why did they take a counsel to come over to this place? Because they knew about it through King Solomon and those voyages that the Canaanites took to come over to this side of the world. You see? And many other people knew about it. Christopher Columbus knew about it. That's why he mentioned the prophet Ezra in the movie 1492, Conquest of Paradise. He already knew about this side of the world. He just didn't have the proper, so-called, as they put in the movie, the proper calculations, because he didn't make that voyage, until, which, I did a little something on it. 1485 was really the first time he came over here. So he was just playing it off like he didn't really know the distance, but he did. And it says that they might dare keep the statutes which they never kept in their own land. So they wanted to come here to start afresh. It's not to be under the hands of the other nations, being persecuted so that they can follow the commandments of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Okay? It says, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. Now, if you look at the land of Assyria, a map of the land of Assyria, you'll see where they entered into the Euphrates River, into the narrow passages of the river, and then they started coming down because they came down towards where you have the so-called Persian Gulf, which empties out into the Indian Ocean, which goes around the Horn of Africa, and that was the way they took, because there's certain currents in the waters that'll guide you if you just follow them, you know. And the Canaanites, they were experts of the sea. You know, they were expert shipmen. You know, they knew the currents. They knew how to work the currents. You know, so basically, they knew it. You know, and all those navigators that came afterwards that learned the art of cartography, the art of going into the sea by way of ships. They all knew about those currents. You know, Prince Henry the Navigator, he was one of those top navigators, you know, which Christopher Columbus learned from. So they had all those records, all those documents. All right. It says they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river, for the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. Why? Because when you're at sea, you know, there's hurricanes, there's storms, there's different cyclones, you know, whirlpools, you know, all different type of stuff that can take you out. But the Lord held back that flood so that they can make it over to the side of the world. You know, as to where when you watch the movie The Bounty, the main character, I forget his name, Captain Bligh, he wanted to go through the Horn of Africa, you know, through one of the major places where the water was violent, it was turbulent. You know, and the men didn't want to go through there. But what happened was the Lord held back those storms and stuff so that Israel could make it over to the side of the world to fulfill prophecy. It says, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. So in other words, in order to get to that country, the path to that country was a year and a half. It doesn't take no year and a half to go from Assyria to Africa, or from Assyria to Georgia, Russia, or to Turkey, or any of those lands around it. It doesn't take that long to get there by way of ship.
I got some to back up what you're saying, going back to the scriptures. All right, proving that the Apocrypha is part of the scriptures. It says 1 Kings 9:25. It said, and 3 times in a year did Solomon offer burnt offerings and peace offerings upon the altar which he built unto the Lord. And he burnt incense upon the altar that was before the Lord. So he finished the house. All right, it says, and King Solomon made a navy of ships and Easy Gabar, which is beside Elath, on the shore of the Red Sea, in the land of Edom. And Hiram, by the way, Hiram and Gabar, look up the word Hiram. Hiram is a key name among the Masons. He was a Canaanite, a Phoenician, so you understand. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, what you just said, with the servants of Solomon. And they came to Ophir and fetched from thence gold 420 talents and brought it to King Solomon, because King Solomon was the king. He's a major king back then. You see? Now I'm going to move on to the next chapter, because I got it written down here. Okay. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, it says here, it goes on to say in 1 Corinthians 10:11, and the navy also of Hiram that brought gold and from Ophir, brought in from Ophir great plenty of almond trees and precious stones. In other words, they had a circuit that they went back and forth to the Americas. Good. And the king made of the almond trees pillars for the house of the Lord and for the king's house, harps also, and psalteries, and for singers. There came no such almond trees, nor were seen unto this day. And King Solomon gave unto Queen Sheba all her desire. Never had sex though. He ain't give her of his seed whatsoever she asked. Because there's a big bullshit among the Rastafarians about Melanek coming out of Sheba, because Solomon and Sheba had sex with each other. That's a fable, all right? Whatever she asked, besides that which Solomon gave her of his royal bounty, and that didn't include his rod. so she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. Now, when King Solomon put the rod on a woman, that was it. So now, why would she go back to her country? That was bullshit, man. And she was in the different men. She was a queen that had like a monarch, a king, had many wives. She was a queen that had many husbands. Husbands. It was open. It wasn't no secret thing. When you go into the history, what was that called? Polyandry. Polyandry means many men. For lack of a better term, poly mean more than one, and andry meaning men. That's where you get the word Andrew, many men. Like among the man that has more than one woman, what do you call that? What's the term? Polygamy. All right. Well, women having more than one man is called polyandry, and that's what she was a part of. Okay, so she went back and got with them different men that played her husband. So she was out of order. All right? That's right. What we call a nasty hoe. It says, besides that, he had of the merchantmen and of the traffic. The word traffic does not mean cars. They didn't have cars back then. Traffic means business. Of the spice merchants, and of all the kings of Arabia, and of the governors of the country. And King Solomon made 200 targets of beaten gold, 1,600. Basically, they're telling you, when he built the house of the Lord for the Lord, and he built his house, most of those rare things that he got, woods and so forth, and gold, were from the Americas. And Israel knew about that. That's why you read what you read, and you're going to go back to that about Israel knowing to go to the Americas. And they said, when we come to the Americas, which it wasn't called the Americas, it was called the land of Canaan, because it was the Canaanites led by one man, a Hiram, that went back and forth to America, and when they got all those spices and almond trees and gold and wood, they would bring it back to Solomon, because they were servants under Solomon. All right?
This is I just want to read this real quick before I read on. This is from, because remember we read that the Lord held still the floods, right? This is Wisdom of Solomon 14:3. It says, but thy providence, O Father, governeth it, for thou hast made a way in the sea, and a safe path in the waves, showing that thou canst save from all danger, because there's danger out there in the high seas. Yea, though a man went to sea without art, nevertheless thou wouldest not that the works of thy wisdom should be idle. And therefore do men commit their lives to a small piece of wood, and passing the rough sea in a weak vessel are saved. For in the old time also, when the proud giants perished, the hope of the world governed by thy hand escaped in a weak vessel, and left to all ages a seed of generations, which I was talking about Noah. All right, so going back to 2 Ezra 13 and 45, it says, "For through that country there was a great way to go." In other words, to get to that country, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Arsareth.
Can I say something real quick? This is First Kings. I should have kept reading. It said 1 Kings 10:22. It says, For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Hiram had his own navy, and Hiram was he was a master. That's why the Masons referred to Hiram, because he was a master builder. So Solomon used to use his call on his services, man. Call on his services. I'm talking about Hiram. It said, now listen, it says once in 3 years. So you got a year and a half going and a year and a half coming back. That's why Israel knew that it was going to take a year and a half to get there. That was a cycle. Because they went there, they had people over there gathering up different precious things and spices and gold and so forth. Different animals, peacocks. And they would, and when they would come and they would get, that's where you get the whole merchant thing from. That's where you get admiralty, the maritime law and so forth, you know. You have the merchant ships that would go around the world and import and export. Actually, they were importing stuff. So they would have people in the Americas. It was basically like a treasure chest for them. Because everything was untouched. Everything was untouched. It was paradise. So at one time, America was actually paradise. So they knew, and like I said, going back, like you said, Columbus, during the time of Columbus, they knew about America. They knew about the Americas because they read the scriptures. They read out of he mentioned the Apocrypha. It says 22. It says, for the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years, you had that circuit, a 1.5 year going, and a 1.5 year coming back. Came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes and peacocks. Because, like the apostle said, America it was a paradise. Because what you got to understand, the Garden of Eden, the word Eden means a whole planet. The word Eden, Aidan, means paradise. In Genesis, it speaks about there was a garden eastward in Eden, in the paradise, which is the whole planet Earth. It says 23. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. 24. And all the earth sought, all the peoples of the earth, the kings, the monarchs, the queens, all the earth sought to Solomon to hear his wisdom, which the Most High put in his heart. Okay? Let me read the 25th verse. Because there's a lot to it. And they brought every man his present, vessels of silver and vessels of gold and garments. Now, back in the ancient world, you had garments that might have been worth, in today's standard of money, $500,000, $1 million. Because you had actual jewels, different crystals and jewels and silk. You had precious stones, interwoven into the garment, man. And that's how we're going to look when we're in the kingdom. It says, and they brought every man his present, vessels of silver and vessels of gold and garments and armor and spices, horses, because they said that Gad didn't know nothing about the horses until a white man brought. Look at Gad was an expert on horse. They all tell you that Gad was an expert on the horse, man. Gad, the tribe of Gad didn't know nothing about a horse until the Spaniards gave him a horse. Get the fuck out of here, man. a curse, man. I'm sorry. Couldn't help it. Horses and mules, a rate year by year. So all that stuff, that abundance, that treasure trove, that was America. All that stuff was being brought over here year by year. It was a circuit, man, coming to King Solomon, man. That's why King Solomon was I'll read it again, 23. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. All right?
Back in 2 Ezra 13:45, it says, "For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half." Now I want to stress this because I'm going to read something real quick in the Latin, in the Apocrypha in the Latin, because you have these clowns that say that when it says through that country, it was talking about they went through land. It wasn't talking about no land. It was talking about those waters where they went through. So I just want to read this real quick, and I'll break down two key words and go back to this. This is 2 Ezra 13:45. It says, "Per eam enim regionem," right? Now, when you look up the word "per," it means to go. When you look up the word "per," it means through, across, through the midst of, from side to side of traversing, meaning to go through, right? Then when you look up the word "eam," comes from the Latin "eo," means to go, walk, ride, sail, fly, move past. So to sail. So they sailed through that to get to that country. The sailing of it was a year and a half. So I'll read this again. It says, "For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Arsareth," meaning another land. All right, and there's another scripture, and I believe it's Deuteronomy, where it uses the same word, Arsareth, something to that effect. All right, it says, and that was a name because it was basically another land. It wasn't a name because it didn't have a name. It was a land where never mankind dwelt, where there was riches. It says, and some so-called scholars have even suggested that America is the Ophir that the Bible's speaking of. It says, "Then dwelt they there until the latter time. And now when they shall begin to come, the highest shall stay the springs of the stream again, that they may go through. Therefore sawest thou the multitude with peace." So when Israel, the other three tribes that were left in Jerusalem, were getting ready to come over here, the Lord did the same thing for them. He allowed those ships to come over here, and they weren't able to. The floods didn't destroy the ships because the Lord had to have those three tribes to come over here to join the rest of the other tribes that were already here. It says, "But those that be left behind of thy people are they that are found within my borders." And what happened there? Those are the ones that stayed there. And what happened? In process of time, they were ran out of there by the Romans, went down into the interiors of Africa and other places, and then were brought over here, were sold by the Arabs, the Ishmaelites, and the Africans, the Hamites, to the so-called white man, the Edomites, and they in turn put them on ships, cargo slave ships, and brought them over here to the Americas to serve slavery, which was their punishment, and it was that place that was prepared for them. And as we were reading before, in the book of Revelation 12 and 13, it says, "And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness." Now the wilderness at this particular time was talking about the interiors of Africa, because that's where the Israelites fled to flee Roman persecution. That's what Yahushua said to the people that were there in the land, "Don't cry for me, cry for yourselves." He said, "For the time is coming where you're going to see armies compassing Jerusalem about." Those are those Roman armies that were going to compass the whole land of Jerusalem, the temple and all that. Why? Because it was time for the Lord to bring his vengeance for the things that Israel was doing, because even back then they were doing a lot of wicked stuff, So it says, so they fled into the interiors of Africa, into her place. There goes that word place again. We've read it in several scriptures. So that place that was prepared is America. That's the place where they served captivity. That's the place where they served slavery. They served out their punishment. And in process of time, this is the same place where we're going to be delivered from. It says, into her place where she is nourished for a time, and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. And that time, and half a time represents 350 years because it's prophetic. And those 350 years began when the bulk of the slaves were brought over here to the Americas in 1619, 1620, which mainly 1620. And it ended 350 years later in 1969, 1970, when a man by the name of Abba Bivens started teaching and waking Israel back up to knowing that they were Israelites. And then from that point on, he chose certain men to lead the charge after his death, which was King Masha, High Priest Ariah, and High Priest Yaikwab. And then in turn taught other men and you have what you have today. The truth that's out here about the Israelites. And that's history. Now, you're not going to find it in the Metanetta. You ain't going to find it in the Egyptian Book of the Dead and them different texts, pyramid texts, and whatever other texts, that you have. Why? Because those books are nothing but fairy tales. And the way that you pronounce or decipher those hieroglyphs, you got that from the white man. So how do you know that that's really the way that's pronounced, or that's the way that you say that? Because you got that from the white man. The white man's a damn liar.
Yeah, y'all better quit it, man. The Lord ain't dealing with that bullshit, man. And you saw Netta. You need to get into another business, man. Yeah. Because that shit is, y'all are looking bad, man. A lot of them people that follow y'all, they're starting to wake up. The ones of them that can't wake up, then the hell with them, man. Let them be destroyed, man. But you people out there, the Most High is dealing with the children of Israel, man. We have the prophecies on it, which is in the book. I don't give a damn how many times you read them pyramid texts and all that. It's all bullshit, man. It's all crap, all right? And you better wake up. You better get with the program if you're of the elect. But I want to read this here, and we're going to get ready to close it in about another minute or so. This is in Deuteronomy 29:28, and it goes hand in hand with the Apocryphy, where it speaks about Asareth, right? Asareth is America. That's another name for America because that's that other land. And I'm going to prove it. It says, and the Lord Yahweh rooted them out of that land in anger and in wrath and in great indignation. Indignation means justifiable anger. And cast them into another land as it is this day. Now, when it says as it is this day, it's talking about as it is this very day. Today's date is November 1st, 2014. They're in that land to this very day. Somebody give me Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Now I'm going to go to the Hebrew. I'm going to look up the word another land. There's a lot of good stuff in here, man. Okay. Now I wrote the word Asarath, right? Or it's spelled differently sometimes. It's Zarath. It says the Americas was called Asarath or Asarath. And it says on the headline, it says Native Americans are Israelites. Then it goes into, it even mentions 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. So, I mean, you can't get around it. You cannot get around it. Go ahead.
This is from the Jewish Encyclopedia under Arsareth. It says, the name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses until the time of restoration. According to 4th Ezra 13 and 45, Columbus identified America with this land. So in the Bible. Yep. Yeah. So he said, according to 4th Ezra 13 and 45, then it says Columbus identified America with this land. See Kaiserling's Christopher Columbus, translated by Dr. C. Gross, page 15, which we told you this guy Columbus knew about this side of the world. That's why when the friar or whatever, the priest, when he asked him, what makes you so sure that this land is over there? He said the calculations of Tuscany, somebody else he mentioned, he said Esdras. And then the guy said, well, Esdras is a Jew, you know. So he mentioned that because of this account. And this guy here is saying that Christopher Columbus identified Arsareth with America. So it lets you know that he knew where he was going. He wasn't looking for another route to Asia. That's all bullshit. That's a cover story. He knew exactly where he was going, and he knew exactly who was here. That's why he brought those Hebrew interpreters with him, they were so-called Jews. You know, them fake Jews. This says the name. It has been suggested by Slider Snessy, if I'm pronouncing it right, which I know I'm not. It's taken from Deuteronomy 29, 24 to 27. Because they forsook the covenant of the Lord and went and served other gods, the Lord rooted them out of their land and cast them into another land, Eretz Heret. As this day, this passage is made to refer in Mishnah Sanhedrin 10:3 to the 10 tribes composed. But different opinions are expressed by Akiba and Eliezer. The traditions are rather confused as to the names, whether the 10 tribes may be expected to return or not, since this point is not determined in scriptural verse. One of them takes the words as this day to signify that as the day goeth, but doth not return, so shall they who are cast off not return. So they pretty much, you get the gist of it, and if you know the history, that the so-called the 10 tribes came over here to the so-called Americas back then when they got cast out of the land of Samaria and were slaves under the Assyrians.
Yeah, when you go to and I read it, Deuteronomy 29 and 28, so had the Most High cast them into another land. It said, and cast them into another land. Another is from the Hebrew, Akar Aratizah. Now the Atareth, the last part of that word, is the same Hebrew word which means land. So the word means, but they're saying it's slightly different, but it means land or another land or new land. Actually another land. And that's a fulfillment of Deuteronomy 29 and 28. Oh, somebody told somebody to ask someone to get me Deuteronomy 68.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. It's pretty much that's slavery, because the so-called black man, that's of the tribe of Judah, the so-called West Indians, which is the tribe of Benjamin, and the so-called Haitians, which is the tribe of Levi, they were brought over to this country by way of ships. And when they got here, the first thing that was done was what? They were sold as bondmen and bondwomen to serve slavery and captivity. And where scripture says no man shall buy you, it's talking about no man's going to be able to save you. Only Yahweh Shai is going to be able to deliver you from this captivity.
Yeah, the actual word when you read, I believe, is buy back or to redeem. The word means redeem, to buy you back. Like in slavery in the South, they show you that in the movie 12 Years a Slave, where this one slave master, the mean one, he had to borrow his slaves out to this other slave master, and he had to basically buy the slaves back. And the slave that he lent, the slave master would lent his slaves out, including Oliver Northup, the guy was a good, so-called good slave master. And then what he did was, when he got back on his feet, he had to redeem his slaves. So no man shall buy you, meaning no man shall redeem you, buy you back. But the Lord is our redeemer. He's going to buy us back. Because we're bond men, and there's a bond put on us. You pay that price, you get that slave. That's a standard contract, man. Like in boxing, you're a manager, you have a boxer, you have a contract where he's bound under you. And let's say some bigger manager or promoter wants your boxer, he'll buy the contract. Now they might see the potential in this guy to being worth. They can make $100 million off of this guy, and they might offer you $1 million, and you might say, well, give me $10 million. And you're a small time guy, but you be happy with that $10 million, and you know they're gonna make $100 million. That's a bond. That's selling that contract, man. He's bound. When you rent an apartment, right? You have a lease. You have a contract. If it's a year contract, if you decide to leave 6 years in, guess what? You bound to pay the rest of that rent. You see? So that's how bonds contracts work. Now it says here. Now this is I'm gonna leave it at this. These are you guys. Oh, get me Acts 17. You know what I want, brother.
Well, I was a free man.
Areopagus, which means Mars Hill. All right, that's a Greek way of saying Mars Hill. Now this is you guys that get out there and you speak, and you have different speakers every week. You know, this is you guys. And you always do it in the daytime. Deuteronomy 28 and 29 and Job 5 and 14. It says, and thou shalt grope at noonday when the sun is up, when the light is out, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, because you set it right in front of the 125th Street mark, and you don't even have enough power to open that thing up. It says, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt, because you set up a thing called Money Making Tuesdays, and Jake wasn't even feeling it, man. Because Jake wants you to get, Jake is lazy, man. They don't want to go out and set up businesses and work with business people. Jake is lazy, man. Now, if you said, look, hey, today is Money Making Tuesdays, we're going to send out checks to Negroes. Just put down, just subscribe and we give you $1,000. Then guess what? They'll be following. That thing will still be going, man. Jake ain't looking to work hard to make it. He ain't thinking about using his brains. So that damn Money Making Tuesday thing fell through. Which when I saw it, I was into it, man. I was watching Sutek. Sutek was getting down. He knows business. But you got to understand that the people that you're dealing with are under curse. Under curse that the Most High put upon his people, Israel. Now, if you worked it out with real Africans, guess what? It will be a success. Because they're not under the curse like the children of Israel. All right? It says, I'm going to read it again. And thou shalt grope at noon. Now, look up the word grope. Go to Deuteronomy 28, 29, because I don't want to click to it. Look up the word grope. It says, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed. Because you can be out there teaching, and one of your cousins could be getting his ass whipped by a damn cop. When was the last time you heard cops jump up on a Chinese person or a Japanese person and beat the shit out of him, man? Or shoot him? And it's some controversial thing. It only happens to our people, man. So-called blacks and Puerto Ricans, because we under that curse. It says, thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. This is Job 5 and 14. They meet with darkness, black power, in the daytime. They get together in the day. They don't do it in the nighttime when it's dark. They go to Harlem in the daytime where the sun is up. I mean, one time we passed by, we saw a Suitec waiting out there, waiting for shit to pop off. It says, they meet with darkness. Black power. Black power is darkness, man. Black power is an oxymoron, man. In the daytime and grope in the noonday as in the night. Now you look up the word grope. I already know what it means, but for the viewing audience.
Yeah, the word is mashash. And it says to feel, to grope, to feel over, to feel through, to grope.
In other words, there's a blackout, right? There's a blackout, black power, right? Black power has finally come to New York. And you in your house, and what you got to do, you got to grope to find the door, right? You bumping into shit. You know, you got to grope to find a door. And what are you looking for? You're looking for light. You're looking for light, man. So as long as you into that black power bullshit, you're going to remain in this. You're going to be groping. That's why Sarnetta, he was a Hebrew Israelite 1 week, and then he's a Islam the next week, and then he's Kemet this week, and then he's an Egyptian that week. Then he's a Moor the next week. Coming to you with some powerful information. That ain't no powerful information, man. That's powerless information. If you don't know that who you are, then you're lost. And none of you guys in that black unconscious community, none of you guys know who you are. You can tell me that you're Egyptian all day. I'm going to laugh at you, man. Okay? I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn if you got 2 locks coming out the side of your bald-ass head. Shaka. You ain't no Israelite, man. You're just a confused, lost soul, a confused, lost Israelite. And with that, we're going to say shalom.